So there's a couple things I want to talk about before getting into this video. One is that I'm going to be completely changing the content that I'm going to be doing on my channel. Recently, I've been dedicating so much time and effort into TikTok, but I kind of want to change this and I want to start focusing on my YouTube channel. So just be on the lookout for some new content, some new ideas, some new things that I'm going to be playing around with and trying to figure out. But it's just brainstorming, see what works, see what doesn't work, and just try to put more effort into my content. I wasn't really enjoying doing reviews. I feel like that was like my main driving point, and I wasn't enjoying them. So maybe I'll end up changing it to like first impression videos of like certain figures, or just, changing the ideas and trying to see what works best for me and for you guys as well. But today we're going to be comparing SHF Spider-Man to Revoltech Spidey. I say Spider-Man because this could be Toby, Andrew, but mainly I'm going to be talking about Final Swing here. So we're going to be comparing these two figure companies and the two Spider-Man and see which one you guys will like better, or see which ones you guys should buy. Now let's do a side-by-side comparison. As you see, these are very different looking figures. They have their own unique differences, and some of the ones I want to talk about more specifically. So if we look at both of them, like I said, side by side, I would say the armored version from Revoltech is more comic looking, and obviously the Final Swing suit, as SHF makes a lot of movie figures, so expect something more movie-like. But even the proportions and the builds look completely different. So if you want a bulkier, stronger looking Spider-Man, you go with the Revoltech. If you want something slimmer, something more of like the Tom Holland build, you definitely go with the SHF. But not only that, but you obviously see differences in the way the joints are looking. You see the Revoltech, obviously, their joints are more exposed. That's something that usually goes around with all their figures. Most of their figures have their joints exposed. That's kind of their style. That's kind of how they do their thing. And the Final Swing, if you look at the inner elbow, you can definitely see it there. But for the most part, most of the joints are covered. You do see a gap in the shoulder, but that's a minor difference. And then you look at the mask, and I really got to give it to Revoltech. I really love that mask. That mask is so nice. And we're going to dive into the accessories too. We're going to break it down in different ways so you guys can see what are the differences, the pros and cons of each figure. But just looking at it from here, man, that Revoltech looks like a complete monster. He looks awesome right there, compared to the Final Swing. The Final Swing is nice. I think it's one of the best SHF Spider-Man that they've made so far. But man, they really do not compare. Just Revoltech, for me personally, just looks awesome. But yeah, let's break it down further into the paint details. From further away, the Revoltech looks shinier. It looks nice. But I feel like in terms of like painting, I think I might have to give it to Final Swing. But let's take a closer look. I love nitpicking, so I'm going to be very, very specific. But as you see on the wrist, there is like a minor like paint missing here on the wrist. But for the most part, the painting is pretty solid. There are a couple scuffs here and there, but that's probably my fault. But if you look closely, like here on the bicep, there's just like very small, like minor details like that make it look a little off. But from far away, it looks great. Even the mask looks amazing. I did have a couple scuffs here and there, just minor things that kind of bugged me. For the most part, it's pretty solid. Now, if we look at the Revoltech, here is where the paint gets a little messy. You see here on the belt, there is a lot of like, not chipping, but like scraping. If you look at the top of the shoulder right here, it's like black. It's not fully painted. Look right here as well. There's more flaws in the painting on the Revoltech 2.0 Spidey, but I feel like, in my opinion, they're more dismissible because you can't see them from far away, and it kind of goes with like the darker aesthetic of the figure, where it's like, you know what? Okay, I can forgive that. I can definitely forgive that. Here in the hip too, like you see like more like scraping from the ab crunch. But it's more forgivable on a Revoltech. For some reason, it doesn't bother me as much on the Revoltech than it does on the SHF Final Swing. But then again, very minor on the Final Swing. That's for me though. I know that a lot of people have a lot of QC issues depending on how your figure comes factory made. But then let's talk about this scraping here that's going to begin to happen on the thigh. That is something to be cautious about as well. As for the Revoltech, you really don't have to worry about that besides the hip part where it's scraping against the belt. In comparison, I say the SHF Final Swing has better painting than the Revoltech, but that still doesn't take away from how awesome and amazing it looks, especially that metallic and shiny look of the Revoltech 2.0 Spidey. But yeah, we're going to keep it going, and we're going to move on to articulation now. So now we're going to be focusing on articulation, I'm just going to like quickly run down the articulation of the figure. I'm not going to do much, hit the T-poses, above T-pose, basically a T-pose right here. Yeah, I'm going to just do it very briefly. I'm not a big fan of these shoulders, sometimes they can get very tedious. You do have a harder diaper here. It's not really a diaper, but the belt does definitely hinder a little bit. It can do splits. I'm not really gonna like try to move it too much because I don't want to really, I don't really want to do too much in terms of like moving the figure. But I will show you. This is as far as the knee goes. You do have toe articulation as well. People do have more QC issues with SHF as well, so that's just something to keep in mind. It can be a problem sometimes, but yeah, what I found incredible with this figure is that it has a joint down here, and it also has it in the hip, so it has a bit of ab crunch, but then like the bottom part just like goes down way more, and it definitely has the most ab crunch of all the SHF Spideys. I can already tell this figure is gonna start getting loose soon, so that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, I'm very, very particular about some of these things, and it can bother me very easily because I'm spending almost $100 on these figures, and I want them to look clean. I want them to look nice. I don't want them to get scratched, scraped, or have paint chips within a week. But overall, the articulation is pretty good. Side to side is definitely limited. That's one of the things that this figure cannot do, is side to side on the ab. You definitely cannot get any movement side to side. So now let's move on to the Revoltech. The Revoltech, on the other hand, is a beast. He has crazy articulation. That's something that you should expect from a Revoltech. I know that a lot of people had loose knee joints in the first issue, but since this is the reissue, these joints are a lot tighter now. As you can see, gets more from the knee than the SHF. He does have toe articulation. Everything's a lot stiffer now, and I think they're doing that purposely because they know the experiences people had last time. This like part does move too in the leg. You can only get the leg up so high, but honestly, for the Revoltech, this is actually some pretty good range in terms of like before the knee pops off, because usually the knee pops off pretty early when you go high enough. But this is actually the most range I've gotten from a Revoltech in terms of putting the legs up before they pop out. So pretty good range there. He can definitely do a split. He has that like thigh swivel. I forgot to show that on the SHF. The SHF has a thigh swivel too. But look at this ab crunch right here. Look at this ab crunch. Looks amazing. Definitely can move. Definitely has good range of motion. The butterfly joint. They have like their unique butterfly joint that like open and closes right here. You do have like this, like, I guess like forearm swivel, whatever you want to call it. The SHF has that too. There's a couple of things I forgot to show on the SHF, but then again, you have a bicep swivel here, but it's very stiff, and I don't want to try to move it because I tried when I unboxed it and it wasn't moving either. So very stiff bicep swivel. You probably have to warm that up. The head movement, I will give it to the SHF for that range of movement for the neck at least, because it's pretty limited because of the shoulders right here. But in terms of like the head, I think the head moves more on the Revoltech. But I think overall, I like the Revoltech articulation a little bit more, and you don't have to worry as much as you do on the SHF, because the SHF you have to be very careful, and it's kind of like, Revoltech you could just play around with, you can do your thing, and you don't got to really worry about breaking it or paint rubbing, paint chipping. So I don't know, they both have their ups and downs, and I'm just here to show you like the differences. But I definitely got to give it to the Revoltech in terms of articulation. Revoltech really specializes in that articulation aspect. But then again, you do get some pretty good range from the final swing. And actually, let me show you the difference in the ab movement side to side to see if the Revoltech has any side to side movement. So it doesn't actually move on the bottom piece, but it moves on the upper part. So you do get some additional range here from this joint right here. So yeah, not joint, but like peg, whatever you want to call it. So you definitely do get side to side movement here from the upper torso, just not the lower, like the lower waist area. So yeah, pretty good articulation. Let me hit that T pose. Revoltech likes showing off, and they hit above the T pose. So yeah, you definitely see you got some more range here, but you do have to compromise for the ball, like these like joints. They're gonna show, but they're gonna articulate way better, miles better than the final swing. So next we're gonna show some accessories. So for the accessories, I'm gonna just keep them in the box right here so we can see them very quickly. We have the flipping hands, we have the open hands. We have 2 pairs of open hands, but one's like more for the floor, like when he's on the floor, and one is just like open, like relaxed more. And then he has the ones for web swinging where he can pull the web down. He comes with an additional head sculpt. I like the other one better because this one had like a paint, like, was it this one or the other one? One of my head sculpts came with a scratch on it, and I actually think it's the other one. But if you look at this one, like the painting on the mask, I don't know if you can really see it well. There's like a line right there, and that kind of bothered me too. So that just all goes in terms of like painting and, you know, stuff like that. But then he also comes with 3 webs, one for his web shooter, 2 for his web shooter. One is a short web, one is like a medium web, and then he comes with a long web, which is the one that he can pull. Yeah, this is the final swing. Honestly, it's okay. You know, I wish we would have gotten an unmasked head sculpt. It also comes with like this button right here that I believe you're supposed to pop into the back. I believe so, because on the back piece you can take out the this back piece and put it on the stand. That's another thing to worry about. This like button piece, if you look at the Revoltechs, it has like a hole right here. So it really just depends on how seamless you want your figure to look, or if you really want to prioritize that articulation. So I think the Revoltech accessories definitely do beat the final swing accessories for one main reason. While the Revoltech has these like green, like translucent looking webs, a lot of people aren't a big fan of, and I understand why. Don't like the translucent green. I really am not a big fan of it. But in terms of accessories, we got to give it to Revoltech. You know, they have web wings. The bottom 2 are web wings. The upper 2 are the web shooters. Then you have 2 webs that you can pull, or you can even attach into the wrists. These flipping hands have a hole right here where you can plug in the web, and it will look like he's shooting from his hand. Now, if you look at the final swing accessories, these have a circle that goes around the wrist peg. So this is going to be in between the wrist and the hand, which means that it's way more seamless on the 2.0 Spidey than it would be on the SHF. So the accessories definitely got to give it to Revoltech for sure. For sure. Definitely very, very creative in terms of plugging it in. I'm not one to change the lenses. I'm one to just keep the same lenses on. But if you want an expressive Spidey, if you want one that you will be able to show what he's like, what his facial expression would be during certain poses, during like certain like meme videos or whatever you're doing with your figure, you definitely got the most expressive Spidey out of the Revoltech. Now, I know people have the 2.0 Spidey's eyes pop out and they have issues keeping them in, but thankfully mine has been in and it hasn't fallen out yet. But this is definitely the most expressive Spidey out of the 2. We're going to go to the hand accessories that I showed you earlier. He definitely comes with, does he come with more hands? Let me see. 1. So SHF comes with 4 pairs. This is definitely 5 pairs. So we got more hands with the Revoltech. He has flipping hands, open hands, relaxed hands, multiple relaxed hands actually. They're just different variations of them. Another thing that I was told is that the Revoltech, his punching hands actually have a hole in them. So you can plug in the web there. So not only does he come with, it's basically a 2-in-1. He comes with a 2-in-1. It's a punching hand, but it's also a slot to pull the web down. Whereas the SHF, the final swing, has separate hands for that. It has these punching hands, and then it also has the pulling hand where it's like this. It kind of looks like this, where he's grabbing it with his thumb up. I used to really love SHF, but recently they've been very lazy with their Spider-Man figs, and this is why I was very excited for this 2.0 Spidey. If you want a more well-rounded Spider-Man fig, even though it doesn't have an unmasked head sculpt, because both of these do not, I love the Revoltech. Now, I've used the Final Swing more than I have for the Revoltech, so I don't know how long the Revoltech will hold up for, but the SHF is getting loose. The legs are getting loose. That is something to be concerned about. Be cautious. They both have their own issues. They both have their own strengths. But honestly, whichever one you pick up, I think you're going to have an awesome time with. You know, the Final Swing is a good live action suit. It's my favorite, or one of my favorites aside from Toby. It's all personal preference, but I hope this video helped you figure out which Spider-Man of these two you would want to pick up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoy the new content that I'm going to be making for you guys, the new ideas that I have for this channel, and the way that I'm going to be restructuring my content. And if you guys liked the video, please leave a thumbs up, you know, and follow if you don't follow me, if you're a figure collector. We also have a Discord server. There's so many things that I have put in place for figure collectors to feel like they have a community to go to. Discord, I have a TikTok, I have an Instagram. I have a lot of things that, you know, you guys can be part of. So just let me know. I go live a lot on TikTok as well, but like I said, let's keep this on topic. If you guys decide to pick any of these up, let me know. Let me know your thoughts on the Final Swing or the Revoltech 2.0 Spidey. I believe Revoltech 2.0 Spidey might still be up on pre-order, and Final Swing is like $90 now on Amazon. Don't quote me on that. I will leave the links to both of them in the description. If I can find 2.0 Spidey still on an import site. If not, I might leave the Big Bad Toy Store site on there. And I also want to do future videos where I give you guys more guides, more tips, more like help in terms of where to buy your figures, what you should be looking for, what not to do, what to do. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be making more content. I will see you guys in the next video.